They said Oakwood Estates was peaceful, a perfect place to grow old quietly. But peace is just a facade when power goes unchecked. It started with a letter, a sudden spike in HOA fees, then the shiny new Tesla, and beneath it all, secrets buried in plain sight. I'm not a detective. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who loves his garden. But when they pushed too far, I followed the money and uncovered something far darker than anyone expected. I was sipping my morning coffee, watching the light dance through the blinds, when the envelope arrived. It was thick, official-looking, and carried the HOA seal like a threat. Inside, a single line shattered the quiet routine of my life in Oakwood Estates. Effective next month, your HOA dues will increase to $3. $20. I nearly spilled my coffee. That was triple my current rate. No explanation. No breakdown. Just a demand. As I stood in stunned silence, Karen Thompson strolled past my window. Tapping away on her phone, she glanced at my front yard, then snapped a picture of my rose garden, my pride and joy. The same roses that had won the county's blue ribbon 3 years in a row. 2 days earlier, I had received a notice from the HOA, claiming my roses were a visual nuisance and damaging property value. It felt personal. It was personal. What Karen didn't know, though, was that I had recently been appointed as the HOA's new external auditor. They needed someone neutral, and my name had been suggested by someone on the board who was quietly growing suspicious. I hadn't even accepted the role yet. But now, with that letter in hand, I said yes. Hell yes. Oakwood Estates had always been my sanctuary. I moved here after my wife passed, poured my grief into gardening, and found a sense of calm. I never wanted trouble. But I also wasn't the type to walk away when I smelled something rotten. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. Landscaping fees had tripled over the past year. Despite no visible upgrades, monthly expenses included charges for urgent repairs that never happened. The security system they installed, if you could call it that, was little more than a set of ring cameras mounted by Karen's nephew, who was paid $50,000 for the job. The entire system was a money funnel, and Karen Thompson sat at the top of it. But the numbers were just the beginning. The stories from my neighbors cut deeper than the invoices ever could. Lisa, a single mother of 2, broke down on my porch. Karen had threatened her with a lien on her house if she missed the new payment. A lien for a woman who worked 2 jobs just to get by. Then there was Mr. Rodriguez, a retired veteran with severe mobility issues. His grandson had helped install a wheelchair ramp last fall. It wasn't just functional, it was beautiful, too. But the HOA fined him for altering the facade without approval and threatened to remove it entirely. I watched Karen drive past his home that afternoon, sipping her iced latte from a Tesla that still had dealership tags. She didn't even look at the ramp. What she didn't realize was that I had already begun documenting everything. I photographed fake violation letters, copied invoices, flagged duplicate payments. Every receipt, every signature. It all led back to her, and to her tight circle of allies. Her brother ran the landscaping company, charging us triple. Her niece handled seasonal decor for $10,000 per year. Her best friend Sarah, the HOA secretary, had signed off on every expense. One evening, while walking the neighborhood, I overheard Sarah whispering on her phone behind the clubhouse. She was instructing a towing company to remove a neighbor's truck, claiming it was an eyesore. That truck belonged to a teenager installing grab bars in his grandfather's bathroom. They didn't care. It was all performance control disguised as regulation. But then, something unexpected happened. Karen's brother, yes, the same one profiting off the landscaping scam, was arrested in a separate fraud case. That's when the house of cards began to tremble. A week later, I received a cryptic email from a whistleblower, an insider on the board. They warned me that the Housing Authority had launched a quiet probe into Oakwood Estates' finances. Someone had tipped them off about the drastic fee hikes. The clock was ticking. I compiled my report. 78 pages of financial discrepancies, contract conflicts, forged maintenance records, and resident testimonies. I spent every night cross-referencing figures, making sure it was airtight. Then came the board meeting. The room was packed. For the first time in years, nearly every homeowner showed up. People were angry, confused, desperate for answers. Karen walked in with her signature air of control, hair styled to perfection, eyes scanning for weakness. I stood up. "My name is Daniel Foster," I said. "I'm your new external auditor, and I have something to share." The screen flickered to life behind me, slide by slide. I walked them through the mess, the overpayments, the fake repair jobs, the nepotism, the forged documents. Karen's face paled. Sarah sat frozen. Whispers turned into gasps as I showed photos of the ramp violation letters next to invoices for luxury car detailing charged to our HOA budget. Then came the final slide, an official letter from the Housing Authority confirming a pending investigation. Karen lunged forward, trying to cut me off. But it was too late. The room turned on her. Within 20 minutes, the Housing Authority arrived, backed by officers. They had a warrant. Boxes of documents were seized. Phones were confiscated. Karen was escorted out, her heels clicking a hollow rhythm on the tile. Sarah followed, face flushed, eyes glassy. The board was dissolved within a week. But the story didn't end there. We held a special community meeting on a Saturday morning. Without Karen's shadow, people finally spoke freely. They shared stories, many I had never heard before, about threats, backroom deals, unexplained fines. We voted on a new interim board, composed of residents from all walks of life, a teacher, a nurse, a retired contractor. And yes, Lisa, with the misappropriated funds recovered, we installed real accessibility features, hired a legitimate landscaping crew, and cut HOA fees in half. But what mattered most was the shift in spirit. Neighbors who had once avoided each other now shared coffee on front porches, helped with yard work, watched out for one another. Oakwood Estates became a community again. As for me, I kept my role, quietly auditing, quietly observing. The roses bloomed brighter that spring. Mr. Rodriguez got to keep his ramp. And Karen, last I heard, she was awaiting trial for embezzlement, fraud, and elder abuse. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive with sirens. Sometimes it starts with a coffee, a letter, and a man who just wants to tend to his garden in peace. But peace, I've learned, is something worth fighting for.